I'll now invite Principal Russ.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me here. Actually from here I have to rush back to the cabinet sitting. I wanted to keep it brief and short, but I thought I will not get another opportunity to address you all on the issues that I see as a priority for us, not only in 2019, but the rest of the term. So each time we meet, whether it's in your school or whether it's in any function organized by the ministry, each time you meet, whether you meet as a principals association or you meet within your divisions as colleagues, it really does provide us with an opportunity to take stock of what we have. And it also provides us with a time to reflect on where we are and where we need to be. And it also allows us to reflect on the roles that we play as leaders, as role models for your community and of course the nation as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a time of change. I'm sure you'll agree with that. However, we need to see each day differently. And as such, I'm sure if we see each day differently, each day is going to bring us change in a different way. How we react to those daily changes is the key ingredient to improvement. I come from the teaching sector. I come from the classroom where you are. I come from the school. So if I look back at where I was in 2013, and if I look back at where you are in 2019, a lot of changes has taken place. The question is, have you embraced those changes? The question is, were you ready for those changes? The President mentioned a bit on technology. I was very impressed with that. Okay? So are we ready for those changes? So forums like this allows you to share best practices and make sure you do that. Because what I found out is a lot of inconsistencies within the way you manage your institutions. One institution will be doing something differently, the other deals with it differently. So use this forum to network and share how we all can be on the same platform. How do you deal with student issues? How do you deal with teacher issues? How do you deal with reforms? It's different. The President also mentioned about the fact that we at the Ministry of Education provide leadership support. Yes, we do, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy that we are providing you with the right level of support, and we intend to do just that. We need to guide you. We need to support you more. I'm saying more, not that it's not happening, okay? And we intend to do that. I'm also aware of the frustrations that you have as leaders about certain instructions that's given to you and the timely manner in those the instructions. We are trying to address that. Like I said, each day is different and we'll have to deal with it differently. Okay? So from the ministry's perspective, yes, we are going to provide you with that much needed support, especially to the newly appointed heads of schools. I had a meeting with the unions yesterday, and they also raised their concerns with us about some of the performance of the newly appointed heads of schools. So the newly heads of schools, you are under scrutiny. I think we were not ready for young people taking up leadership roles. We were not ready. But it doesn't mean you are not good leaders. Some of you will prove to be better leaders than those who have a lot of experience, and we have trusted, we put our faith in these young leaders. But again, the fact that you need to take responsibility. There was a talk about professional development. Do not just depend on the ministry to conduct professional developments for you. The responsibility lies with you. How much of a leader or how good of a leader do you want to become? I think the onus also lies on you. So if you look at leadership for the century we are living in, we're talking about instructional leadership. It encompasses a lot of things. And if you just sit within your own offices and within your own schools and don't venture out to find out how others are doing things, I guess we'll be taking a step forward and 2 or 3 steps backward. We want modern day leaders. We want leaders who believe in change, positive changes. And I'm sure as we move towards changes, there are certain changes that may not appeal to you. They may not appeal to your staff. But you've got to embrace the change in a very positive manner. Sometimes we hear about group discussions where heads of schools sit together, you have your own meetings and stuff, and you're told about the negativity that emanates from those group discussions. That's not a positive way forward. This is your ministry. I think what has happened is you've tried to demarcate the fact that school is yours, ministry is mine. This is our ministry. And your suggestions, your contributions towards how we can take Ministry of Education to another level is very important. So as a group of professionals, as a group of experienced teachers, now principals, you have a lot to contribute. And I believe in engagement and consultations. You may agree in the past, oh, things were done, we were not consulted. Okay, let's put it behind us. I want us to move forward on a very, very positive note. And I want you to know that at the headquarters, we will stand ready to work with you and support you. Right? There's so much written here, but I just wanted to give it a personal touch. Okay? I'm sure your discussions throughout your conference is going to bring about these issues. But how do you modernize our ministry? I'm going to use the word our ministry. I don't say my ministry, because the moment we say my ministry, we try to push it. But it's our ministry. How do we modernize it? And that modernization must come from you as leaders. Right? Lead with a difference. How do you lead with a difference? Do you continue to lead your institution the way it was led 20 years ago? Do you? No. Where do these innovations and change come from? It has to come from you. At one time we said, oh, why do principals need to be computer literate? I said, why not? Why not? Technology is one thing that we all need to embrace. Right? So again, your president mentioned about developing leadership modules to prepare you better for the future. There's certain things that you can do. I'll give you a classic example. I hear from clerks, I hear from burses of schools, I hear from assistant principals and vice principals that the principal delegates him or her to enter data in FEMIS. Yes, it's still going on. You may dispute because you may not be one of them. Congratulations for that. You can't take ownership of your school if you don't know what's happening in your school, if you don't have the data. So as principals, if I was to ask you certain information about how you manage your grant and how do you do how many students are disabled maybe, you should have it at the fingertips. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to reflect on what you are doing. Are you fulfilling your role as a leader? Okay? Are you going out during the day? I've worked with principals who never walked out of the office. I've worked with principals, believe me. Some of you may have also done that. And that's what we've learned over the years, that the principal's role is confined to the office. The VP does the daily running of the school, the AP looks after the discipline, the HOD looks after his department, the teachers go and teach and mark and assess. So what do we do as leaders? You need to be part of your team, ladies and gentlemen. And then many of you whom we hear such good reports, my principal is a team leader, my principal is a team player. However, we also get the information from when we visit the divisions, when people come and talk to us about, oh, my principal is forever in the office, clicked within his own group. There's still cliques going in school. There's still favoritism going within your schools. And we are aware of that. How do we get rid of that? Treat everybody equally and fairly. You have been appointed in a position of responsibility, and the word responsibility comes across the board. You can't have favorites. You can't favor one over the other. Just because somebody comes and snitches onto you what the VP is doing. The funny thing about the school system is there's always this disconnect between somewhere in the leadership, principal, VP, there's somewhere there's a disconnect. But maybe you are not one of them. The three of you work really together, and that also with the heads of department. That's what leading with the difference is. You lead the way. The first person to arrive. I can proudly name one principal I worked with, Mr. Bridgedale. And I think the Western principals, Western teachers know about him. He was one principal who was the first one to arrive and the last one to leave the school campus. He built that rapport with the community, with his teachers. He treated everybody fairly and squarely. But then I've also worked with principals who asked me when I was appointed a VP, do you know how to mow the lawn? I said, what does it have to do with it? So I see ladies across the room. There's a lot of barriers when it comes to, I think we've broken down those barriers where women are now taken more seriously. And I was also told by one management firm in 2013, oh, we don't want a woman principal. Why? Because it's a community school. So, I still have managements coming to me in my office and saying, look, I don't want this lady that you have appointed, the men that you have appointed. So one of them said, I don't want this lady principal. She's very good. I said, why? Because we're doing a capital project this year. So, the potentials are still being undermined. So it cuts across the board. Youngs, they say, oh, we don't want a young principal because the principal we had before was a very senior one. So the question is, we have to give everybody equal opportunities with that support mechanism, and we need that. So the newly appointed heads, please don't disappoint us. Your 6 month probation is coming to an end very soon. And if you have not performed, believe me, some of your positions may be revoked. Let me tell you that. Performance-based. You have to perform. You have issues, talk to principals around your areas and get the necessary support. You came fair and square through the open merit recruitment system. Okay? So you've got to perform. And then we have those senior principals who have been serving, or heads of schools, who have been serving for a long time. We have some disgruntled senior heads that, well, they missed out on the open merit recruitment, but however, there's still hope. Okay? And in the next round of, I'm sure, we are going to look at experience. Let me share this with you. So the question that your unions asked me yesterday was, how did these young assistant teachers or heads of department rose to the position of a leadership position? What is the experience? A lot of explanations I can give, but I wouldn't want to declare this in public. Okay? This is your conference. Honesty is very important. Okay? When you fill in your CASA and when you do your applications, it's very important that you've given us the right information. We are dealing with 12,000 teachers. And under the open merit recruitment system, 12,000 teachers can apply. Okay? And at the Ministry of Education, we still do not have the capacity within our HR. Let me be honest about it. A lot of issues we are having currently in terms of your salary bands, in terms of promotion, in terms of transfers, etc. Well, let me just say, we are still struggling. I'll be very honest about it. And this is where I seek your support and your understanding. Because most of the time it's your teachers who are affected. Okay? So if you can gather data, if you have data, forward it to us. If you know your teachers have issues with their contracts, teachers are not happy with the band they are in, if your teachers have upgraded their qualification, if your teachers have not been paid arrears or back pays or acting allowances, please cooperate with us, bear with us. Not to tell, oh, HR is not working, so stuff like that, positivity. Okay? So these are issues, real issues that we are facing at the Ministry of Education. The other thing I wanted to talk to about was let's see what I want to say. A lot of things I wanted to say but I'm not going to say. The fact that you're aware that we are at a stage where the leadership of the day needs to be sensitive to the culture and ethos of the school. Let me make it very clear. Okay? We have a lot of schools which are community run. We have a lot of schools that are run by the management, a lot of schools that are run by the faith-based organization. Of course, we have the government schools. I must ask you to take note of this here, okay, because this is very important for us. You've got to respect the culture and ethos of the school where you are appointed. From the ministry, we continuously, I'm not going to use the word fight, we are constantly engaged in discussions with the faith-based organizations to ensure that you, as a head of school, are welcomed by the management, by the community, by the FBOs. Please do not do anything against the culture and ethos of the school. We will take a very hard stand on that. You must respect that. And at the same time, you must respect all the other cultural groups of students, the parents, the teachers that teach within your school. Our ministry's stand is very, very clear. We will appoint you on merit. right? And we will be posting you in that order of merit, ranking, etc. We are not going to look at your name, we're not going to look at your face, we're not going to look at your culture, we're not going to look at your ethnicity when it comes to posting heads of schools. Okay, so we've had positive feedbacks from the faith-based organizations. I'm sure some of you are doing wonderful job there, but the point I wanted to make is we do receive complaints. The school doesn't want you to drink grog, so why would you want to engage in drinking grog after school? Simple things like that, and it's happening. If the school says there's no meat allowed, why would you want to go against that and prepare meat where there's a temple or something like that? Okay. You've got to be sensitive. And I'm sure you can be sensitive, yet we continue to get complaints. The principal with some of the staff were having grog in that, there was a party or something like that. Try to avoid that. You want to go and socialize, go to a teacher's quarters, go to somebody's home. So nobody's stopping you. But develop a very cordial and a very positive relationship with your school manager. Of course, they're not supposed to interfere with the academic work. You are the principal. Okay? Principals have also raised this with me. The manager says we need to do that, we need to do that. The school manager's handbook is currently in its review form, and we are going to go out and meet them and say this is where we draw the line. Classroom is ours, the principals, infrastructure, etc. They can be involved in discussions. And that brings us to the FED grant. We've also been getting a lot of complaints about mismanagement of the FED grant. At the end of the day, we will hold you accountable on how you utilize, I'm sure you know what percentage and of the grant is supposed to be used for, how much environment that you do. But please work within. When you do your operational plan and when you're trying to plan for the year, you budget for the year, a few dollars here and there is okay, but plan it. Okay? Make sure you plan your year. Okay? Fundraising, you are aware that we do not want to impose any financial constraint or burden on the parents. We are also aware that some schools allow PTAs to charge PTA fee. It's voluntary. You will have no hand in that. You will have no hand in telling your students or the parents that they have to pay this certain amount. Okay? Then comes to the textbook issue. I receive a lot of complaints from, I don't know where the management comes in this, that the school has not received the textbook. It's your fault. But I've also been told that when circulars are sent to you, sometimes they are not responded to in a timely manner. Please do that. Because the information that you provide to us helps us in make decisions. It helps us in our budget submission. But I've also found out that there are schools that have submitted a request for new textbook, almost all books to be sent to the school for this year. I wanted to name a few schools, but I don't want to cause any embarrassment. Just because the books are provided free doesn't mean you don't take responsibility for that. You must be accountable for the books. So if you send me a requisite and saying, let's say Rishikul, my friend sitting right there. So if I say Rishikul College needs target 200 copies of target 3. Oh no, we don't supply that. Oh, maybe other book, conversational Hindi or Fijian, whatever you call that. I need to know, if I gave you 300 books last year, I need to know why you ordering 200 books. But that's how principals do it. Whether you're aware or not, whether it's the VP who does it, whether it's the librarian who does it, whether it's the person who looks up, they just say outright, 500 students, we need this book for this year. 100 in Form 3, we need this many books. What's happening to the other books? So I spoke to Kes the other day, I spoke to the director and I said, the principals must justify why they're asking for excess. It could be lost, right? It could be new intakes. Those should be the only two criteria that is used to order new books. But here you go, left, right, center, you just order books. And sometimes you order it when the school opens. You wait and you wait and you wait. Plan your work. So if you have 100 students in Form 3 and you know the trend is 100, 110, 120 for the last 2-3 years, you order it based on that. Get your students to be more responsible and accountable for the books that we give them. It's costing us a lot of money. And that money we can divert to other uses. Okay, so we were coming, I was talking about FEG, and I think very important that we need to be very transparent and we need to manage the grants that we give you. So you can use 30% for administration, building and compound 20%, IT 15%, library 10, PMEC 10, and stationery 10. But we hear that there are violence from this allocation to another. And it's very disappointing that most of these violence go to buildings. So suddenly the management decides they want to build a new hall. What is your priority? What is your priority? My priority is to ensure that your evolution blocks are clean and well maintained. My priority is to see that your existing classrooms are maintained. My priority is to see that if the ventilation is done there, the cleanness is there. I was even told that, oh, we didn't have money to buy a Zoom to cut the grass. So I was traveling over one school and stopped. So why is the grass so long? So that is something that you must take responsibility. Cleanliness is very important. Sometimes we drive by schools and so appealing, so beautiful. And that reflects on the leadership, the commitment that you have towards your facility. And then there are those schools that we go, we see cows grazing and stuff like that, probably, I don't know why. Maybe you don't have a fence. So that's your priority, right? That's your priority. A lot of things are happening, and you and I both know that. So that's the type of leaders we want. You make a difference to your community, and you will see, once you start making that difference, you build that bonds with the community. Every community wants the best for the children. Yet, when we're doing the infrastructure audit, well, my infrastructure audit is when I visit, because sometimes I don't believe the reports that's given to me. Okay? Especially in the maritime areas, those principals who are here from the maritime areas, I think your challenges are far worse than what we have here. So once the infrastructure audit is completed, then we will probably ask you to give us your priorities. The walkway should be a priority. If the children are traveling right from the main road to your school, that should be a priority. I know you might say, oh, it's not my responsibility to go and see whether the washroom is clean or not. It is your school. I've been told of heads of schools who actually walked around the school compound to ensure the compound is neat. They walked across all the buildings, the labs and stuff, the washrooms and stuff, to see that. And that is what we want you to be. Not in your office, please. I said that in the first time I met you. The new ones, because you don't teach. I said I expected principals to teach. Okay, you can do that, and you can balance that. Because you are the most experienced. You are supposed to be the most experienced. Sports in schools. Very important. We still hear of certain schools wanting to do their own stuff. Oh no, we can't allow students to take part in sports because it has to do with the attire. No. Girls, no disrespect to the Muslim schools. They're all children. There's a lot of attires that you can get your girls to wear and still participate. Likewise with the boys. These children these days want a holistic overall development to them. So don't deny them. The other day we were at the Kula Film Awards and they said, well, certain principals just say no. No, because it's chewing down in your academic work. I understand that. But it doesn't have to be. There are certain schools who do so well in academic and they're so good in extracurricular activities. It's how you instruct your teachers. I told those students, use these opportunities. And you will see the difference they bring to the classroom, the excitement. And you and I both know, not all our children are academically good. Arts, sports, dance, filmmaking, and all those extracurricular activities that you can have. So please engage your school. Okay? And there's no excuse that you can't do it because it's taking up your academic time. And I'm sure you'll talk more about this. Values education, very important, very important. Okay? And you need to see to that. For me, the next important thing is teaching of conversational Hindi and Vastavakaviti. If we are to build a new Fiji where we know each other so well, where we build upon the diverse cultures that we have, it's important that you and I and our children know the language. You must know that. So take that very seriously. Don't just put it down as a lesson that teachers can use to complete their math syllabus. I know that's how we do it in the school. We do a timetable. Somebody's load is not ready. Conversation in the kitchen. Or put a little bit of careers there. Coming back to careers. Very important. There's some changes you want to bring about to careers lesson. Where do we start careers? Is it from 5, from 6 or from 7? It should start as soon as a child enters primary school. Again, we are looking into that too. It's, like I said, it's taking time for us to become more modernized. You're aware of the teacher shortages, skill shortages, that we are not producing enough for the industry. So guide your children. So how do we incentivize those children who want to do maths and physics? We have shortage of industrial arts teachers still. Shortage of maths and physics teachers. How are you coping with that? Many times I get an email, Madam, I still haven't received my maths and physics teachers. So I say, I'm sorry to say, we don't have maths and physics teachers. What do you do then? You go back and tell your student, ministry is not sending us a maths and physics teacher. Most of you do that. You tell your problem, you tell your parents it's HR issues, it's the ministry's issues that we don't have a maths and physics teacher. You do that. What are you supposed to be doing? That's you, that's your organization. One teacher short, you can imagine how many children are affected. And that is something beyond our control. That is something, I did mention that we are going to re-engage retired teachers. Even that is very difficult. We are losing teachers to New Zealand. Yes, we've lost more than 14 this year, maths, physics, and maybe the numbers would go. The last couple of 2 months or 1 month, my HR was telling me we received 80 or so requests for maternity teachers. So can you imagine how hard it is for us to do that? So this is where you come in with your expertise. How do you make sure that the child that you look after the needs of those children where they don't have teachers in the classroom? I know it's frustrating. So maybe that's where you as a leader needs to go out and assist and ensure that. Assess what you have. Stock take, that's the word. Take a stock take of what you have. In this situation, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to continue in the coming years as well. How do we attract these teachers to stay? You might say increase our pay. You may say that. But I'm sorry to say it's not happening in the now near future. We'll have to look at all those things. There's something that we need to look at is like a scarce skill allowance. We're looking at how do we get people with scarce skill to stay there. But these are policy matters that need to be looked at. We can't just make overnight decisions and say, oh, maths physics teacher, you get this allowance. No, these are policy matters, but these are things that needs to be considered so that we don't have this. But we're going to have that. We're going to have that. And then coming back to those schools which have technical and vocational education, I'm sure you've heard that we we are going to, from the next financial year, transfer our technical colleges under FNU. That is done to ensure that we are really serious about producing the industry needs of the country. Technical colleges were set up to ensure that those children or those members of the community who wanted to get skills, it's been going on pretty well. But we want to take it away from secondary schools. So you concentrate on your secondary schools. We have many issues there. And well, finally, let me end by saying this, because I have to be in Parliament now, as I'll be sent home from there. But I think you do a wonderful job. I'm not just trying to polish things here, right? Regardless of the challenges that you have, you're doing a wonderful job, but there's still room for improvement. Okay, there's still room for improvements, and I think you have much more to offer. You need to get out of your comfort zones. Again, if I may use the word comfort, we all need to do that. Go the extra mile. The way you treat your teachers, the way you treat your students. You're the star of your institution, right? You are the star. Build that bond with your children. Build that bond with your teachers. And you can do that. With a goodness in your heart, Easter is coming up. If you have not been doing that, use Easter vacation. Sit and say, okay, what am I going to do better from term 2? am I going to utilize my student-free days? I hear a lot of complaints about student-free days. Put it to good use. Put it to good, constructive use. Make it interesting for your teachers. Make it interesting for your teachers. And that probably is going to give you a good start to the term 2 that's coming. Tolerance again, corporal punishment. I have to say this, time and again, zero tolerance to corporal punishment. Zero tolerance to corporal punishment. You have your teachers losing their jobs because of inflicting corporal punishment. Get to know the policy, please. Get your teachers to know the policy. There should be no excuse for ignorance. You can't say, oh, I didn't know what it means to inflict corporal punishment. Any touch, there's so many things there. Please get your teachers to know the definition. I really feel sad when we have to put teachers or terminate teachers because of that, because that's, you know that better. Eh? So zero tolerance policy is there. Okay, the final question the final issue that must be cooking up in your minds is probably Mayapa. Okay, and what better forum to address that? Again, if I may say, unions are not very happy with the delay we are taking, but I said, well, things are going to happen. We can't just jump into things. A lot of lessons have been learned from OMRS, a lot of lessons have been learned from Mayapa, but what I can say is, there are many reasons I can offer for the delay, but I'm not going to say that. I'll just say that with a workforce of over 12,000 people, and for the first time for it to be implemented, it hasn't been easy. So we are in the final process, right? The ministry is working to finalize this process, and so that we only recognize the outstanding performance, right? Outstanding performance, you've judged your teachers and you have been judged and you've rated yourself accordingly, some very high, some very low, but obviously all very high, okay? We are looking out for those outstanding officers. And these teachers and officers would have gone the extra mile to perform their duties. They have not only uplifted their own performance, but they have uplifted the performance of the overall schools. And of course, like I said, it's in the final process. Obviously, if I can reiterate again, those outstanding officers who have performed will be paid. It may not be you, it may be you. So that's where we stand. Okay? And so finally, 6 people have started talking. 6 key things I want to leave with you is you as educational leaders, you as instructional leaders, you engaging with your stakeholders, all the stakeholders. You must engage them with that, how you manage your infrastructure, how do you plan for maintenance, that's very important. Okay? We still have some schools that are halfway completed after TC Winston. You may be one of them. But then we have the other schools that have been completed, beautiful structures that have come up. Okay? There were some reasons for the delays in the maintenance and reconstruction of schools. Of course, with your positive behavior, I'm sure you will institute positive behavioral management within your school, and that's very important. And you need to be transparent and accountable when you manage the free education grant. And the rest, keep up with your professional development, keep building bonds with the children and teachers, be honest, dedicated, and commitment. These are some of the things that comes from within. Okay? And I'm sure you will definitely make a difference, or you are making a difference. And if I can just leave you with again a word of congratulations for your achievements for the previous years. And if I may also use this opportunity to thank all those teachers who retired from the system, all the principals who retired from the system, and all those who have made a difference in the education sector. And I don't know the numbers, but obviously some of you will be retiring this year. And if I can use this to thank you for the services, look after your health, it's very important. Sometimes we hear after 55 somebody passes away. Don't take stress. You know, the thing is, you look after one school. We look after 1,900. Can you imagine the stress we have? Right? There's so much responsibility on your shoulders. Some shoulders are very weak, small shoulders, some are big shoulders. Mine is getting smaller every day. 1,900, and I mean, if you look at PS, you know what we are going through. You know what we are going through. You don't know what we go through, right? But believe me, if you want to live happy, walk stressed. When you walk out of your school, stress stay there. Go home with your family, pick up your children, spend family time. When you come back next morning, pick it up again. Okay, let's go back, deal with it. It's very important because this takes a toll on everybody's health, yours and ours included. So let's share that, okay? Family time is important, your health is important. Of course, your wealth is important to save some for retirement, And so please enjoy the hospitality here. And go down to the ground, support your children, be with them, it's very important. While you are here, please communicate with your teachers who have brought the children to ensure that we don't have mishaps. Of course, there's going to be a lot of police headquarters staff, I expect them to be there too. Stay back for the closing ceremony, okay? If not, go home safely to your families, enjoy your break, and let's start term 2 of 2019 on a much positive and a higher note. I will take a vote.